Hi, I'm Jeff McLennan, President of the Sacramento chapter of the American Society for Public Administration. And I'm proud to introduce exemplars in our community of public administration in the Sacramento region. I want to tell you that government works, and we've identified several outstanding leaders. Our chapters work very hard to find these exemplars in our local government, state, and federal sectors. And we have a wonderful presentation for you. Welcome, and thank you very much.
So I was born and raised in Sri Lanka, and I remember when I was very young, my father, who is a tax accountant, would compile and help indigent taxpayers with their tax returns. And I even remember sitting on his lap and compiling and completing tax returns when I was just 5 years old. And one of his key phrases he would minister to us and also to other taxpayers is, "Without a vision, the people perish." And so many years later, when I was mapping out my career, his words resonated in my ears about the vision and the people perishing. And so that drew me to public service. And I'm very, very grateful that I've had a great career in public service. It's not over yet. I have many more years to go, but I've enjoyed every bit of it. So my father, when he was completing tax returns for the indigent taxpayers pro bono, and he would do this at our house, and we would see these lines of people standing outside our garden trying to get into our house to complete tax returns. And so I took that public service to a large extent and joined first the Board of Equalization, another tax department, and then later on Franchise Tax Board in completing, or compiling his vision for helping taxpayers.
I grew up in Southern California, both a grandfather who worked for the city of Los Angeles and a father who worked for the city of Fullerton. And these are in the post-World War II periods of 50s, 60s, and 70s, where there was a link between the citizen, those civically engaged, and community leaders. They were basically the same thing. So you didn't run for city council, you were simply an active member in participating in community government. And if you thought services need to be expanded, then you were part of a group that worked to increase taxes, if you will, resources in order to improve those services. And again, as I mentioned earlier, those two things were connected. Level of service and the resources needed to provide that level of service. People seemed to work together, and growing up in that, I thought that was something that was a lot of fun, because I watched the elders in the community, in effect, have fun, enjoy that activity. The best piece of advice that I received was actually from my grandfather, who, remembering that there's two generations here of municipal government, I'm working for ABAG at the time. I've got an offer to come work for the state government, and I ask him about it. And he says, big mistake. They have no idea what they're doing. And community government's the place that you've grown up and you studied, you enjoy this stuff. Why are you doing that? And his advice to me was, don't do this. And I said, tell you what, Grandpa, what I'll do is I want to go do this thing. This was the Council on Intergovernmental Relations back in 71, 72. I'm just going to go up there for a few years. That's all I'll do. Well, of course, time passes, and I spent 25 years here. So that was one piece of advice that I didn't listen to. And the question that I learned long ago is that flexibility at the community level is important in order to meet community goals, if you will, and that those goals can't be different than a statewide goal, whether it's for environmental protection or public safety, and that our budgeting system and the way we allocate our resources needs to support that. And so I think getting back to what I learned early on is that at the community level there's a structure, and in the days that I worked in it in the 60s, the link between our resources and our services were absolutely direct. we don't have that now. So I think it's important that we find our way back to that. That's a long way around it. But.
So my parents are both public servants, but growing up I never thought I wanted to be a public servant, actually. My mom was a state worker, and I used to laugh and make fun of her and do the typical state worker jokes. But as I grew older, I realized, hey, that's a pretty good gig. So straight out of college, I was actually working at a credit company as a financial analyst, and I just hated it. I wasn't talking to anybody. I was in my cube, crunching numbers, running Access database, regression reports all day. It was boring. It really was. And so when I got a call and heard that a position was opening up in the governor's office, it was just as an assistant in something called the cabinet unit. Probably the best decision I've ever made in my life was applying for that. I wasn't exactly qualified, but being an assistant isn't extremely difficult. It's more, do you have the skills to be able to do it well? And I did. And so I've just worked my way up from there. Did that for about 2 years, took on some policy roles in the governor's office, transferred out to one of our state agencies and worked on economic development, international trade. Came back and worked on the Recovery Act with the governor's office again towards the end of Schwarzenegger's administration, and landed at DGS. So I work at the state's Department of General Services, which that in itself does a little bit of everything from real estate to procurement to buying cars for state departments. But essentially our overarching goal is just to be the business manager for other state departments and agencies for state government. In my capacity there, I am the Deputy Director for Strategic Planning and Policy and Research. And that actually is really fun. Timing is right because we're writing a new strategic plan right now. So I remember all of my classes at USC, and I'm taking everything I learned in those classes with me as we kind of wade into these strategic plans.
I go through this with my own kids. You know, I have a senior in high school and a sophomore in high school. Yeah. And one of the components, one of the things they have to do for this program they're in at McClatchy High School is community service. And it's always a struggle. It's well, I got to go do this. How am I going to get my... And they have a website that has, you know, lists of, you know, work for the food bank, or you can do a variety of things. And you try to explain to them, you know, you've lived a very advantaged life. You know, you live a comfortable life. You don't have to worry about whether we're going to get kicked out of our house, or whether there could be food on the table. You've had all the advantages. And it's important that you recognize that there are a whole lot of people in this community who don't have these advantages. And there are a lot of ways that you can help provide some balance in their life. You can help them to lead a more comfortable life or a better life. And you kind of owe it to the community to participate in that. By doing it, you know, they sort of get out of their own little bubble and see how the rest of the world looks, and,
right.
and see how the rest of the world has to live in many cases. And it helps sort of change their perspective about the world. And hopefully they'll come out of these experiences with their mom and I, you know, kind of drumming at them, and their own participation. They'll come with a better appreciation for what it means to give back to your community.
I started almost right out of college. So I've been in public service for quite some time now. And I started as a student intern, and I worked in I worked for the Department of Justice. I worked for the City of Sacramento most of my career, actually. And I've worked in the private sector some, and by far I enjoy the public sector much more. And I really believe in public service. I think that it is it's a great gift that we can, you know, that we need to as individuals give back to our communities. And in my many different roles over the years in public service, mostly in technology, but in different roles in technology, I've felt really good about a lot of the programs we've been able to implement to make public service better, faster, easier for citizens, solve important problems in terms of crime and awareness and access to information. So it's been really satisfying for me.
I started with the city 6 years ago, and I was hired on permanently 5 years ago. I started with the Department of Utilities, and I've always been fairly civic-minded, but the thought of pursuing a government career wasn't in the first and forefront of my mind. So I kind of stumbled into it, and I haven't enjoyed a job more. I enjoy talking to citizens. I do enjoy giving back to the community. I like that at 311 we have been able to make it an easy experience for them. That customer service is what we do, and we provide excellent customer service, and that is a staple in the call center. I like that. I like that we are able to make it a little bit more transparent and make it easier for citizens. So I would have to say it's been my favorite job to date.
At the time, it became Louise and I co-chairing, but we've had a lot of support from our departments to say this is the right thing to do. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of lessons learned that we can avoid when implementing this kind of process, so we can have some things that are sustainable for our organizations.
Teamwork is so important in being able to get things done through others, because you are one person and you can't always get everything done, but if you can get done through others and work together, you can accomplish a lot. For me, again, it's just feeling that you have an accomplishment and that you are working toward a goal and something that is the mission of whatever is that department is looking at.
What is really important is to find out what your skills are and never stop learning, and then match that with your passion, the things that you care deeply about. When you get the match there, there's no stopping what someone can accomplish. When you see the opportunities instead of the challenges, when you're learning from people and from books and from continuing to your education and learning what works well, but really having something that speaks to your heart and what you want to do. Explore a lot of different things, a lot of different areas, and then find what you're really good at, what you love to do in an arena. The state offers, public service offers a lot of different types of environments, and there's something out there for everyone, and they can be very, very rewarding. So it really is a privilege. I mean, this was the last thing we were expecting, and it is a team award. The knowledge that was shared in those forums, the contributions from the academic partners, the studies that have been presented to us and shared with us, the willingness of our state agency partners to just come forth and share what they've been able to accomplish, what they went through, giving their training materials, their presentations. Really a great honor to co-chair the group, because they really view and believe that we're in this together. And the more we can get ahead of it, be united, be consistent, and have a shared understanding is when we're going to get the greatest successes as a state.
They're awesome. I think I have one of the best staff ever. We have fun. I believe in a very supportive environment, and I always say uplifting other people. So how do you uplift people to help them do better in their jobs? So it's not just our patients, it's our staff. And what can I say? I think they're amazing. Some of our staff can understand firsthand the challenges that our clients have gone through. I've been a teen mom. They have had significant financial challenges and had to rely on aid. And it's not an embarrassment. I mean, as long as you're trying to do better in your life, that's okay. I mean, that's what it's there for. And so we have a wonderful staff. And it's funny you pointed out to me that I'm using the word we, because that's just, I believe that it's really important. It's not about one person. It's about a community of people. And actually for this particular organization, when I came in, I didn't come in as executive director. So although, yes, I made a six-figure salary in the financial industry, but when I came and I was offered an assistant job for $20 an hour, I was so excited. I called my husband and I thought he is going to be like, are you cuckoo? But I said, Scott, I'm so excited, this job, and I can get into the financial, I mean, not the financial, I can get into nonprofit. It seems like a wonderful organization. And it's $20 an hour. And he said, go for it. It's an honor to be able to share the work that we do and to help in any way, even if it's just through this discussion, help other people.